The US Federal Reserve has kept interest rates on hold despite President Donald Trump's demand to lower them. The central bank's policymakers have lifted their projections for inflation this year as Mr Trump stands by his tariff plans. Joining me live now is independent analyst Evan Lucas. Good to see you again, Evan. So the Fed has kept rates on hold overnight, potentially setting up more heat from Donald Trump on Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell.
Yeah, morning, Kenny. That's absolutely right. Not only that, I think sometimes he gets all of the attention when actually it's the 19 members on the board. And what also caught sort of people like my attention was the changes in people and the board's perception of the future. So at the March meetings, what's happened now is that more expect no change from interest rates. It went from 4 to 7 of those members. And now 3 out of a possible additional 10 that think there'll be cuts have gone from 2 to just 1 more cut, with only 7 of them still remaining on the idea there'll be 2 by the end of the year. You're right to highlight inflation. They are very clear. They have a very clouded outlook on it, and it is around the president's overall view on tariffs and what that's going to do to inflation. They also upped their expectation on unemployment. So they think unemployment will rise, that prices will rise. That is the sort of economic definition of stagflation, and that's what they're really worried about. But as you said, the president believes at the moment that the Fed should be cutting rates by 1 or as much as almost 1.75%, not just sort of cutting by 0.25 or half of 1%, a full 1% or as much as 1.75% to where he wants it to be. And he, as he said, he threatened to basically take over the Fed and be the chair himself. He can't do that, but it doesn't help the current situation in the finance world when he does say comments of that kind of nature.
Meanwhile, Evan, the Treasurer is finally admitting we need tax reform. It's going to be interesting to see what is on the table, what's not on the table. We're getting some indication yet. What's your view?
So, look, first and foremost, my view is finally, great. We were sleepwalking into a structural problem. We have all been saying very clearly that the budget at the moment is unsustainable, and that's what he said. 80% of our GDP in the last 2 years is down to public spending and public sector growth. Now, that's also unsustainable, and that's what he's highlighting yesterday. You know, the cynics will point out we are, 5, 6 weeks away from an election that's just been held. There wasn't a problem before the election, but there is now. From my perspective, I don't care. My point is we are going to finally have the debate that needs to happen, that structural tax reform is on the table, which means income tax has clearly got to change. Corporate tax has to change. The GST has to be on the table as well. And other changes around concessions that we have in our tax system all need to be there. And look, it might be 15 years late since the Ken Henry tax review, but if we finally get on with it and do it with the majority they have, it will be the better prosperity for the nation. Despite the short-term pain it might create, it needs to happen.